All right, so alternators. Let's start over here. That is the alternator for the 4-cylinder, and it has a bracket here and here to adjust on, and it's got the proper connector that I need. Probably wind up using that. This is the alternator from the van, which has these and is specific to this mount and has that. So even though this alternator is Ford, it's not going to work. This one is a Chevy alternator, brand new, that I bought for my boat, my 305 boat, that the motor's blown in. But the wiring on the back of it is a lot different, and I'm not sure if the bolt pattern would matter because, well, I got this bracket and that probably would work, and then this adjusting piece would go on the other side, I guess. So I mean, they're close enough where with the new brackets that I'm getting, I can probably make it work. So I just got to figure out if this one because it's just a little bit wider, but in fact I think it's going to wind up over here on the V8. But if I can figure out the wiring, this is actually a really good alternator. Puts a lot more amps out than the regular one. I have to find on, pretty sure I bought it on Amazon. I have to find the stuff on it. But I don't know. So this all actually fits the Chevy alternator. That's the cap. It just slips right on. Not sure exactly how it locks. I don't see no set screw. And that obviously isn't a locking mechanism. Not quite sure how they intended for that to work. I don't know if I have to drill my own set screw or what. I'll have to call them and ask. That fits right on. I'm guessing it'll fit right on this one too. Which is probably still my best bet. So I don't really care for this being the only thing that stops this from spinning. It's got a lock and a nut in the spacer, but trying to tighten that down without it spinning, it's pretty well impossible. So the only thing that keeps that from spinning on the shaft is just the pressure that it pushes against the back side. I don't really like that, but it doesn't look like it's going to be any different on a different alternator. So this one, I just buzzed off with the impact. That comes right off too. So the only thing holding this, and you can kind of see that it slipped a little bit. The only thing holding that is a nut. Kind of makes me want to get one of those nuts that have the flange that's got all them biting marks that bites in. That's what makes me want to do. I wonder if this is like universal or something. See if this Ford nut spins on this. Chevy alternator. No, I don't think it does. Other threads are slightly smaller. Shaft is the same size. So now we know. Shaft is the same size. Threads are a little different. So that's going to bolt onto the head, I think, or the water pump, one of the two. And this it didn't come with, so I'll probably wind up cutting it off right there or something. And this will have to be pretty tight so it doesn't pivot. But that's what it shows in the picture online, so they didn't include this piece for some reason. And then this is going to have to sit just perfect in order to not rub when it spins. So this is the kit that I got. It's just the brackets though, it's not the fancy water pump and power steering. That's going to look different. So that's how it mounts. Is looks like just above the oil pan there on the water pump. And maybe behind onto the head there. Okay, so am I supposed to remove this cover or that window before I take the top down? It works. It's running. The pump runs or whatever. key out. There we go. Okay. So there's a zipper on top of that window. I'm guessing it has to come out. And I'm guessing that the liner has to be messed with. So let me know, Justin. Alright, so I want to mess with the switch, and the top seems to try to run. I want to make sure it goes up and down a little bit. I don't want to go all the way because it's cold. I don't want to mess with the window because it's all glass, not plastic. So I'm pretty sure I have to unzip it and take it out once we get the top all the way down. And I'm not sure about this top part. So here goes. I don't know how that seal got messed up before. That's all the further it goes without taking the window off. Because this window starts to shove down on this. And this has got like a seal that I was messing with when I was in the trunk, and it's pushed off over there. The seal is, I couldn't get it all the way back in when I was messing with it, if you remember watching that video. So, I mean, it goes up and down, just not very far, because that, I need to unzip that window, and I don't want to do that in the cold. So, that little experiment's over. While I'm out here, check out this radio. Okay, it gets plenty loud, but look at all the sources it's got. AM, pod, no device, Pandora, reading, iHeartRadio. It's trying to connect. I don't know if it gets an internet connection. It probably tries to connect through your phone. BT audio. No device. Auxiliary. FM. I think that's all of them. And then it's got a phone and a speaker, so I could Bluetooth to my phone, which might be how it gets its internet connection. Now it's waiting probably for a signal. I need to find a number on this thing, and so I can find the instructions on it. It's pretty cool. It's Bluetooth, Sirius XM radio. Oh, there it is. KD X340 BTS. Anyway, that's a pretty neat radio. I'll bet you that's a few $100. I don't know. At least a couple $100. And that just brought the price of the car down some more, because I don't have to buy an expensive radio. And I've got some stock piece of crap. So after some extensive research on this boat alternator, it's a Mando style from our cruisers. And I think it's about 115 amps. So this is the stock alternator. Everything that's circled is getting deleted, including the wires that are there. And this EXC is going to come around to the light green red wire that's on the car, and that goes into the firewall, and where that winds up going, I believe, is into the instrument panel. and the run hot, and according to my research, that's where that needs to be connected. And then this battery B output goes to the solenoid, and then we can get jumpered in right there. And this wire and this wire and this wire and all this whole part can be removed. So it's just 2 wires on this alternator to get it to hook up to the car. This wire will be like gray right there, where these 2 all, and this yellow wire that you can barely see that comes around right here, that's 3 wires. Anyway, all those can go away because my alternator, the new one, don't need it. And then I even put in my kill switch right here because it can go into the battery right there. And this same wire right here, it would be 1 wire. It would start here coming from the alternator. It would go up to the switch, back down from the switch, and back into the cluster. And when you kill the switch, it cuts it off right there and kills the car. So that's this diagram that I found on the internet, printed out, and then I found this on the internet and cut it and taped it there so that I could figure this out. Now there's this one. This is for my battery relocation to the trunk. So there's the battery, there's the kill switch, there's the 2 wires I was just talking about that goes to the alternator into the cluster. This is a Ford solenoid and a 150 amp fuse. So on this side where the power is coming into the solenoid, I'm running like a 4-gauge wire, going to run it up to a distribution box that's going to basically be an old solenoid that is dead, and so it can be used as a junction box. And I think it's going to be about 115 amps running through this wire because that's what the alternator puts out, and that'll be hot all the time, but it'll be fused with a 150 amp fuse, so if something happens, hopefully it'll shut it off before it starts a big fire. And it's fused on the other side too, because that comes up into this junction box, and this is the alternator sending the voltage over here. So I don't know if I needed it, but I probably wind up putting a fuse there too. And now this wire is on the other side of the solenoid. It's going to go through the car with I got a 2-aught wire, I got a welding wire, and it's going to hook to the other side of the junction box on a different fitting. And then, so it's going to run up here, and it's going to turn into a 1-aught wire, go down to the starter, and then that signal wire that was on the original alternator, it's going to be on the same side this time instead of the opposite side, and it's going to go down to the solenoid. And when I turn the key, it's going to put power to both those wires, and it's going to turn the starter over. That's the plan. And then this ignition wire that used to go to the solenoid here is going to get extended and brought down here to make this live solenoid work. This is where that's where the ignition wire is going to go. And that's pretty much it for the battery relocation. So I noticed online though that other people are fusing the same wire, the 2-aught wire that they used to run to the starter at 250 amps. But then I read somewhere online that even 250 amps might not be enough when you've got like a 900 cold cranking amp battery and you're really turning it over or whatever, that you really shouldn't be fusing that. So that's why I'm not going to fuse that wire, but the only time that wire is going to be hot is when I'm turning the key. So that'll be a safety feature. And then that other wire that is only going to need 115 amps, so with the 150 amp fuse, it's half as hot, and it seems like it'd be safer to me. So that's why I'm doing that.